Owen Magabinawo, coming to you live from HYVA, which stands for HireYourVirtualAssistant.com. And you see, today I have one of these guests where, the interview is going to be really centered on lifestyle design and how you can design a business to be successful so that it enables you to live that ideal lifestyle that you want. And I'm excited because my guest, Michael Van Ouch from Think Tank Men, is on here to talk specifically about that. So, Michael, I think I butchered your last name. So go ahead, reintroduce yourself to my audience.
Well, you did pretty well. It's Michael Van Osh, and my main website is thinktankmen.com. So thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Definitely. So, like I've already made the audience aware of what we're going to talk about. Is how can people always talk about lifestyle design, and sometimes it gets confusing as to what that is. Some people think it's just being a digital nomad where you're just traveling around countries and there's really no aim to it. But to me, lifestyle design is really about setting up that business that becomes allows you to be free and at the same time live that lifestyle the ideal lifestyle that you want, because of the business generating the income, generating the freedom allows you to do that. That's my own idea of what lifestyle design is. But I want, since you're the expert, let's start by talking about your own background and how you got started to in this business, and now how you got to this point where you are able to teach entrepreneurs who are men how to be successful in their business as well as carry that success over to them personally in their life. So let's get started.
Yeah, and you bring up, the term lifestyle design that's been used over and over and over again, and I don't even really like it anymore because, like you said, it sounds like everybody should be out there being a digital nomad, having to travel wherever they want and using the internet to, talk to clients or friends or whatever it is, and it's so much more than that, and wherever I start with my clients is where I started with myself. And that is the place to start, first and foremost, is with your own passions. Yeah. And if you don't figure out what that is in the beginning, it'll be just like another job or period of time in your life that you don't like, because you'll get to the end of 3 or 4 years and you won't have anything to show for it, anything in here or here. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So the way you asked me to tell you how I got started, so let me back up a little bit. I right out of school did my MBA and got right into the corporate world, and I was in marketing and advertising for many years, and it was good to me, but I also got to a point where I had enough of the corporate stuff. So I decided that I needed more creativity in my life, and what I did was I really did a lot of soul searching, a lot of personal work to find what my passion was. And my passion, I determined at that point, was acting, and I'd never done any acting. And I decided that I wanted to pursue that. Now, you're in your mid-30s, and you're making 6 figures, and all of a sudden you decide to go to making no figures and try a totally new career.
And I'm curious, at this time, were you already married?
Yep.
Okay, that itself is another interview. How do you get the spouse to be involved and believe in this dream at that point? But let's keep going, because that's another interview.
That's another interview. You're exactly right. But it's all part of the picture. But you're right. It took a lot of work, and it took me a couple of years to figure out that I needed to go in a totally different direction. And when I made that decision, I didn't make it lightly. But when I did make it, I went full force. And, 5 years later, after a lot of hard work, a lot of learning, a lot of classes, all that kind of stuff, I was doing a Broadway show where I was touring around the country. So I had some really good success, but the key was I started with a passion. And the passion kept my gas tank full of energy so I could do all that hard work, moving to New York, going to auditions, studying, all of that good stuff. So, and that's how it happened for my business too. As my passion started to change and I realized that the coaching I had done with men in the past and work with men's groups, that I wanted to turn that into a business, I knew already the plan of attack. Find your passions, this was my passion, and then put it into action and find a purpose where you can help other people. And those two things really make it go forward.
Definitely. So first of all, your first step is find that passion, something you're passionate about, and then put some work into it, some action, some steps to, getting you to the point where you want to get to. And then what was the last point? Basically, put it your life. I didn't get that last point.
After purpose, in the way I look at things, is that you've got to, after passion, I should say, is that you've got to find some purpose to it. And for me, purpose means that you're not only helping yourself, but you're helping other people. And so that's important to figure out who you connect with and who you are most comfortable with and would like to help as well. And when you put your passion and a purpose together, like mine is helping men who are entrepreneurs to build their business and build their life the way they want it, when you put those two together, then prosperity starts to come your way. As long as you put in the hard work, it comes a lot more easily than if you're doing something that you hate with people that you don't care for money that is not worth what you should be making.
Definitely. And I keep hearing people say, "Oh, get into a business about something that you're passionate about." And then to me, it's kind of like, is the passion itself, is it defined by the business, is what the business is going to produce, or can you be passionate about something within the business? That whole passion thing sometimes gets confusing. That's what I'm trying to say. I use an example. The guy from Zappos, Tony Shea, he sells shoes, right? But if you interview him and ask him what is he passionate about, he talks about is the process of delivering that kind of happiness to the client, the process of the business that the client leaves being happy and satisfied and say, oh, when next I want to buy shoes, I go to this company. Not necessarily the shoes, right? And so the thing now with passion is how does one really hone into what that passion is? Because you can get confused. Is it the product? Is it the service? What is it?
I'm glad you asked that, because I think that the whole passion thing is being overused as well and not necessarily being used in the right way. I'll give you an example from a client of mine, a marathon runner, and has run all his life, runs the ultra marathons, 100-mile races, and all of these things, very into running. Yeah. And he started a running store, now has a running business with 5 stores. So, but the key is, it's not because he had a passion for running that he's made a successful business. The key is he had a passion for retail selling. That's what he used to do for another company. He really loved that, and that's what made him successful. So if he was just passionate about running and not about the retail process or how to sell in retail locations, he wouldn't have any success. So it's not always just what you like doing, but it's also, you have to look further into it and say, okay, well, in this kind of a business, if I set that up, what are the intricate details I would be doing every day, and does that fit with what my passion is? See, because in my example, too, I love talking to men like yourself and helping them to figure out what's the perfect thing I should do for my life, and then how do I get there?
Definitely. And one of the things I try and do with interviews like this is, we know where the good side of the story is and how you've gone here. But I also feel like, there are lessons to be learned when we talk about some of the challenges that one goes through. So in regards to how you got to the point where your lifestyle now is, you're able to live the life that you want as a result of a successful business, there had to have been some, some glitches, some challenges that you had to go through. Let's see if we can dive into some of that.
Yeah, sure. It's figuring it all out, like what direction you want to go, as I mentioned before, is probably the biggest one. Because if you don't, people say you have to have a roadmap to figure out where you're going. Yeah. But I always say, before the roadmap, if you don't know why you want to take a trip, then it doesn't matter.
Wow.
So figuring out the why, that has to do with your passion and your purpose.
Yeah.
But some of the other challenges that I had were, I decided to move. We moved back to Atlanta after being in New York, and that was a big, a big thing to do, to say, this is what I'm going to have to do to live a better lifestyle and have the business that I want. So we moved. That's a big thing. You have to, there is a thing about your wife, spouse, husband, partner, whoever it is, they're such a part of your life that they have to be on board as well.
Yeah.
And so you have to do what you can do to bring them on board. And like you said, that's a whole nother interview. But if you don't have that support, it's not going to last, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
There's too much pressure on the relationship if you don't have the support.
Yeah.
Or too much pressure on the business. Something's got to break.
Yeah.
I'm lucky in that respect because my wife and I are on the same page, and we've worked hard to do that. Of course, one of the other big challenges is getting funding. And that's why I encourage people, if they're going to start a business and do something new, to plan it while they still have their other job, and plan for your exit strategy. plan to build up your savings, see who else can help you with funding, if it's family, friends, relatives, or if it's investors on the other side. Get that all in order first, because the money thing, as we know, is one of the biggest things that makes small businesses go under.
Definitely, that's a good point you made, because sometimes you just read with people saying, oh, you have something you want to go for. I mean, trying to moonlight and work on that business might slow you down, but you're saying, and they say just jump into it and focus on it. I know that it's like sink or swim at this point, but you're saying you don't want to do that because of, the fact that you have to also figure out how you're going to bring income into this business. And I'm curious as to why you're not taking that opposite view of the matter.
Well, I did the opposite view. When I left the corporate world, when we all got fired for the last time from an ad agency, I said, I'm not going back. And that's when I went on the acting journey. And so that was sink or swim. But and if you're a younger man and you're not attached to anyone, don't have a family, then if that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm not saying you can't do it that way, but when you're a little bit older and you have dependents, it is a wise choice you'll take a lot of stress off yourself if you plan it a little more and take a few more months or maybe another year to do your work at night on the weekends and set things up so that you can come out of the gate successful. Because as you know, it's hard enough to be an entrepreneur. There's a lot of challenges being an entrepreneur, especially a solo entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of support. So if you can take that money stress and that relationship stress off the table by working a little longer in the job you're in, it's a great strategy.
Definitely. And so in regards to what you do is you show people how to build the successful business and how to be successful personally as men. I want to see, is there a distinction between those two things and how you approach it when someone comes to you with that need?
We all think, especially as men, I think we can compartmentalize things and put business over here and life personal over there, and really you can't. I say most business problems are usually personal problems masquerading as a business problem, because we're one person. Everything is connected. So, but what I do is normally I start with men in the marketing of their businesses because of my whole marketing background and how to make their marketing really, really be on par with what's needed today, whether it's digital, online marketing, or marketing strategy. So that's where it usually starts. But as you and I have said, being an entrepreneur has all these other issues attached to it.
Yeah.
You can be very alone. You can be, your spouse can be worried that you're not going to make it. You spend 20 hours a day working, but you love it, but then there's no time for family, all these issues. So that's the other side of it, and we end up talking about those issues too and how to put a strategy in place to mitigate some of that stress and to make sure that going forward you're in a much more solid place and the family is backing you and you can give back to them and that sort of thing. So it's a balancing act, but a lot of us entrepreneurs wouldn't have it any other way.
Definitely. So it's basically realizing that it's not two different parts, but it's actually one part. Basically there are two of them, but they're all supposed to be working in balance, because you can over focus on one and then let one go. I guess that's what it is. Because I think of it from the perspective of, if you just decide to now focus on only the family and do everything so the spouse and children are happy, but inside that passion, that entrepreneurial zeal to not really to be successful or make money, but to see something that your dream is working, it dies. Yeah. And that dying is like you're losing a part of you. But on the other hand, if you're focusing only on the dream and leaving the family, I see your point. It's combined.
And the key then is to be present wherever you are. So if you're at home with family, try to learn the habit of turning off the business a little bit more so that you can be there with your wife or your kids or whoever it is and be present. And then when you go back to the office or wherever you work from, be fully present in that and give that all your attention. And soon you can make that a real habit. And the results pay off, because people know when you're beside them, but you're thinking about business. They know.
Definitely, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah,
Just the other day, I was watching a movie with my wife, and for some reason, I wanted to grab the computer, and she could sense it. Was like, just go ahead and grab it. So the question now is, how do you separate your, I mean, how do you become fully present when you're in the business, be fully present in the business, or when you're with family, be fully present with family? I guess that's something I want to personally know myself.
Yeah. It comes down to figuring out what your big fat why is. And I call it a big fat why. And that is, what is the compelling reason that I want to, why am I, we'll take it as the wife example. Why am I with her? I love her and all these things, and what kind of a life do I want to have with her? So you look forward and you say, okay, to have that, this is what I need to do. And one of the key things is to be present for her and for you. So you tend to try to make that a habit. And then the same thing on the business side. So now, what was the second part of your question?
And the thing is, how do you really find the means? I mean, you told me how is by focus on the why, but I'm trying to get in deeper. So how do you become present? If you're dealing with the business, how do you focus only on the business? And if you're dealing with family and wife, how do you be present only to them and not intercommingle them?
It's hard, but it comes with a decision. It really comes with a decision. Excuse me. To do that. First and foremost, you have to say, I know I've got to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then figuring out, like I said, the why behind it. Because I know if I don't do this, my relationship will suffer. And if I don't do this at work, if I'm not fully present, it's like if you've got a project, but you keep checking email at work, you never get it done. Or you get it done in a half-assed manner. Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's knowing why you need to be focused. And if you write those down and keep them in front of you, your big fat why, that wants to motivate and get you into habit.
Definitely. So I guess the why, for each different part of the man's life that he's dealing with, there's several different whys. And it's just being able to know, okay, for this specific thing I'm dealing with, which is business now, I need to be able to focus on that. Why am I in business, and zero in on that. But if he's spending time with family, there's a different why that he's spending time with family, and that why needs to be core focused at that point. Or is it just only one why? I'm a little confused about that.
No, I think it's more than one. I really do, because I mean, at the end of the day, you want your life to look like a certain picture, and that's your big why. But within that, yeah, you have to realize that home life is a little different than work life, and you can't really separate them. So all you can do is be present, and that's the best way I know of to make it work. And it's a challenge. I don't know if anybody ever really gets perfect at it.
Definitely, I totally understand that point. And just the other day, I was talking about on Twitter. I was like, how I'm a newlywed myself. I just got married in November, and I'm like, getting married is something that it really makes you less selfish, because now I'm trying to figure out how to, have that time spent with my wife, so that she doesn't lose that time when we're spending time. I'm not focusing on anything. And before, I didn't really have to think about that, because I usually will see her in the weekends. But now we live together, and so it's. I guess I see the point of what you're saying. And the thing now is, in regards to the lifestyle design, and how we started the call of saying, people who have the wrong idea of what lifestyle design is, in terms of being digital nomads, traveling around, which might be an idea for what it is to somebody. But from the perspective of what we're talking about, what is that lifestyle design, and how do we achieve it?
I'm just launching a new website now, and it's called thefreedomaire.com, and I took the word freedom and millionaire and put them together to combine to say freedomaire. And I use that word now because lifestyle design to me is all about freedom. It's all about being rich with freedom. And that might include money, or it may not. Depends what you want.
Yeah.
Right? So what I find is that, the goal for anyone in lifestyle design, if that's what you want to call it, is to be free to do what you want to do with the people you want to do it with, when you want to do it, where you want to do it, and how you want to do it.
Wow.
Get paid what you feel you're worth.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have an internet business and jet set around the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you should do everything in the 4-hour work week book, because that's not for everyone. That's very extreme. But, defining that freedom on each of those pieces is, again, the first step. And that's really what I think of That's what I wanted to be, a freedom air, and that's where I feel like I'm going, and that's what we talk about a lot with my clients.
Definitely. I like the way you painted that thing, because I guess that lifestyle design is really a relative thing then, because it's really looking at it from your own perspective and then creating what that lifestyle will be, as opposed to maybe someone else who is that jet setter who's going around the world, maybe because he's not even married or anything. And in your case is different, so it's really, you know, looking at the boundaries of where you are in your life and what that freedom will be, I guess.
Yeah, you know, if you're at a job where you're in front of the computer all day, or maybe you're a lawyer or something like that, but you can tell that, you know, it really isn't doing for you what you would feel like your life work should be. But then after work, you go to the nursery to buy some flowers for your garden, and you get really excited about the shrubs and the flowers and the smells and all that stuff. You know, that's a sign. We aren't given these likes and passions and preferences as a mistake. It's not a mistake. The things that you like and are good at, you're good at for a reason.
Definitely.
And so if you can allow yourself to put the outside world away for a minute and tap into those, then you can find a way to involve them in your life. You may not have them as a job, but if you have them in your personal life, that may be enough. But some people, like me, like you, we make it our job because we have that drive to go do that full time.
I understand. And so it's kind of like the lifestyle design, from what I'm hearing from you, is really an ongoing journey that starts with you realizing where you are right now and trying to figure out, okay, how do I break free of certain things? And even when you achieve those goals, then you now realize there's even more freedom to gain. So you now start crafting new ways to, you know, to earn more freedom or create more freedom. And the goal is to, maybe one will never be totally free, but just the journey of getting freer and freer, if there's a word like that.
Yeah. You know, and it's important. I recently did an interview. Charlie Gilkey and I did an interview. He's from productiveflourishing.com, great website. And we were talking about the concept of freedom. And freedom, you know, the way I talk about it, doesn't mean you're running away from things. It's more that you're running to the things that are best for you and that you love. So it's not all about not working, because that may be okay for a month or two, but you're going to get pretty bored if you're not doing something, right?
Definitely.
You know, especially, I know as being a man, one of the things that we can think about most as men is success and reaching goals. That's how we're hardwired. And so freedom is not about not doing work and being a bum on the beach. Well, maybe it is for a little while.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're going to miss not having passions and a purpose. And so freedom air is all about doing what's best for you while you help others and build the life that you want.
Okay. So now I think the audience really gets what this, from your perspective, what the lifestyle design is. So you say the first thing was to figure out the why. I mean, because people say paint that goal of where you're trying to go to, but you're saying the goal is not really important. The first, most important thing is figuring out why you want to get to that goal, first of all.
Yeah.
So now, after figuring out the why, what is the next process in becoming free?
Well, it's, you know, I'd say the key word for today's economy is action. Nothing happens until you do something. And so many of us get locked up in our heads thinking about so many things and forget that every day we have to take a step in the direction we want to go. And that sounds easy, and people have talked about that for years, but at the end of the day, the only way you and I are sitting here talking to each other is because we took a lot of steps to get here. The only reason we're able to talk on Skype is because someone had an idea, but then they took steps, they took action. And that's where you need support, because, you know, sometimes you can go alone, and other days you need help. And so it's important to surround yourself with mastermind groups or men or women or friends or mentors that can help you, because at times we all need help.
Definitely. And the thing, too, is also, I mean, how does one identify, I think this is a sound question as well, because if you hook up with the wrong crowd, they always say, you know, you can identify someone based, what's the saying, birds of the same feather or whatever. So
Yeah.
how does one really zone in and figure out which kind of mentorship group or the kind of crowd to be in that will allow one to get closer to being as free as they want to be, hence the lifestyle design?
Yeah. Well, here's the number one thing to think about. If you want to be an artist, you're not going to go to a gardener to learn how to be an artist. So it's important to surround yourself with people that are doing, if not the same thing, that are doing similar things and have done some of the things that you'd like to do. Now, that's not always easy, but what I've always found in my life is that if you ask people, they love to help. But we forget sometimes that we can just go ask people. You know, there's so many, at meetup.com, there's so many groups in every city. And if you go to one of those, take one of your passions, look up a meetup group, and just go and talk with some people. That's one way to start surrounding yourself with people that are doing what you'd like to do. You have to be around people that you can emulate. You know?
Definitely. I get that point, but, you know, what's in it for the people that you are surrounding yourself in? Because we live in a world where sometimes the first thing someone would think of is, okay, what is in it for me? You want to get with me, but what's in it for me? So how does one who's trying to design their lifestyle, now they understand why, and they understand where they're trying to go to, now they understand now that the next point is to find people who are similar or kind of like where they want to get to network with. How does one get past that challenge of figuring out how, you understand my question? I don't know how to frame it correctly. Is this, how do you make it beneficial to that person that you want to mastermind with or whatever?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, there's a couple of kinds of mastermind groups. Some are paid, which if, you know, and I run some of those, if you paid, then the people are there to serve you. And it's, when people pay, they always show up as well. So that's good. So, you know, you've got to make sure that you're not just there sucking the energy, but you also give and be present and you know, offer what you know too. So you may not be the most experienced person in the group, but that doesn't matter as long as you're there giving what you have. And then on the other side of non-paid groups or just general meetups, that sort of thing, I think you'd be surprised how many people are willing to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you and say, this is how I did it, or this is what my brother-in-law did. It may help you if you know about this. So, you know, although our world is very, if I give you this, you have to give me that. Yes, it's very much like that, but I also believe in the spirit of people, and there's a lot of people out there that have helped me, and I've helped other people in just that way, just by giving and being open. So I think there's more out there than you might think.
Definitely. And so we're talking about the process of getting, you know, this freedom. And now there's also the business, which I think is also a tool that allows you to live that freedom. Mm-hmm. How does one shape the business to allow you get to that point as well? Because I think we're discussing the personal side and what you do, but also the business side of the equation I think is also important. How do you shape that business that you created to allow you to live that lifestyle?
You know, I find that most of the things that people would be their dream job, like if you said your dream job would be to be a movie director,
yeah,
I think part and parcel with that is that part of what you would like about that is the fact that every 3 months or every 6 months you'd have a new project. And then maybe for 4 or 6 months you'd be out of work and you'd relax, or work on something on your own, that kind of thing. So I think that it goes along with what people generally find that they're drawn to. Like I'm drawn to this business as an entrepreneur, working with other entrepreneurs, because I can set my own hours and all of these things. If I was more interested in security and having a big staff around me and all that, I'd probably go work for a company, and it wouldn't bother me to have to be there at 9 and leave at 6 or whatever. So I think they really go together, and if you're drawn to something, you're probably drawn to 80% of what happens within that as well. And the other 20%, well, we all have to do those things, right? It's like bookkeeping. You got to do it.
Yeah. So it's basically looking at what is the end result of the business, or what does the business end up achieving for you. That's kind of how you weigh if this is in line with your overall lifestyle design, or maybe shape it around that.
Yeah.
And then that.
Think back to my example.
Go ahead.
Sorry, think back to my example of the man that was the runner and he started a running store. Remember, he likes all of that stuff to do with retail selling and displays and helping people and, you know, doing analysis of how they run to get them the right running shoe and all that stuff. If he only liked running for himself, it wouldn't have worked. He would have gone out of business years ago. So that's the key, is to look in there and say, you know, I want to do these things, but what's really involved in that kind of a profession? Like I was in sports marketing when I graduated from my MBA, and I thought it would be one thing, but it ended up being something totally different, and it didn't work for me. So I spent a lot of years in it, and it was okay, but that's eventually why I left. So it's part of your research.
I like the way you frame it. Really, is, you know, I guess kind of like the 80-20 rule, and trying to zone into that 20% of the business that really will allow you to, you know, achieve that your overall why, or that your lifestyle design. That's, you know, you have to mold that 20% of the business to match that. But also, you still have that 80% that, you know, every business has to deal with. You know, marketing. Maybe it's dealing with your bills and all those different things that are time consuming, that will drive you away from those things that you're really passionate about, or those things that will help enable you to live that ideal lifestyle. What do you do with those 80%?
Well, you know, a good example is marketing. Like you said, a lot of entrepreneurs love what they do. Let's say a massage therapist or a chiropractor. They love what they do, but they don't really like marketing and sales. Well, you know, you're not going to make a business in this day and age unless you embrace and learn marketing and sales and you put your efforts into it. That's part of playing on that course. Yeah. That's your green fees. If you want to play on that golf course, you got to pay those green fees. And that's just the reality of life. Now, you know, there's so many resources out there these days that are free on the internet and paid, but a lot of stuff is free. Good information on how to market and how to do those things. So I think if your passion is big enough about what you do, you'll find a way to do the stuff that you don't like to do.
Definitely. So is that like relating the stuff you don't like to do to how does it play to your overall goal of what you're trying to meet? I mean, is that the way of reasoning it to allow one to even take on the task in the first place?
Yeah, I think I understood what you said. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. It's that if you want to be a movie director, you're going to have to do all the cool stuff of directing the movie, but you're going to have to do all the negotiations beforehand and all that stuff that you may hate. But that's part of the world in that business, so you've got to learn how to do it.
Oh, definitely. I was thinking maybe you would say something about having someone else focus on the things that you're not really passionate about.
I see. Yeah, I mean, and there's certain things, you know, especially in the business that you're always talking about, that's the way to do it, isn't it? You know, I mean, I use a virtual assistant to do a lot of stuff that, you know, I could do, but it's not the best use of my time.
Definitely. And even maybe when someone's even starting out as well, too, if one took that time to learn even those things that maybe you're not necessarily passionate about, it enables one at a point when you're trying to scale or move forward to really understand how you're going to delegate it to somebody. Otherwise, you're not really delegating if you don't know what those work that you don't even want to do in the first place are.
Yeah.
So I see the point in starting the way you suggest. I see the point in that.
Yeah, good point. It's true. If you don't know all the facets and you haven't tried everything, it's going to come back to haunt you.
Definitely. So we want to leave the audience listening to this so far with one strong point of how to really, live that balanced lifestyle and, have their business enable them to live their ideal lifestyle. So what is that one thing you're going to leave the audience with that, you think will enable them or start that journey for them?
Okay. We've talked about finding your passion. We've talked about, which takes more work than people think, and sometimes we lie to ourselves. It takes a lot of work to find out what's really right for you. And we've talked about how to turn that into purpose, and then how to go out there and look for an opportunity that matches that. But what I'd like to leave people with is the fact that, you have to take action. We talked about this a little bit, but at the end of the day, you can have all the hopes and dreams and wishes that you want, but you have to take action. I call it doing whatever it takes. And if you found what you're passionate about, you will do whatever it takes. You know, it's Steve Pavlina says the one way to find your purpose in life is to sit down with a piece of paper and just start writing stuff out. And when you get to something, and don't get up until when you get to writing something, and when you get to something that makes you cry, that's your purpose.
Wow.
And that's a very interesting, you know, it's a very interesting way to look at it, but you can see how it would have some real teeth to it, I believe. So finding that stuff's great, but take action. And if you don't know how to take action, the action is go ask for help. If that's the only action you can do, that's what you got to do.
Definitely. I like that, because at the end of the day, all the finding of the passion in the world, if you don't do something and act, you know, take some steps to move towards that, achieving that goal of even the lifestyle design as a result of your passion, then it's just a waste of time, I guess.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the way we're ending this. And just in case any of my audience members want to get a hold of you, how best can they do that?
Well, thank you. Yeah, my main website is thinktankmen.com. And then the new website that's coming up is called thefreedomaire.com. And Freedom Air is the word freedom with A-I-R-E, like millionaire. So it's thefreedomaire.com. And that site is really, that's both for men and women, and that's all about lifestyle design and how to find your passions, how to find your purpose, and how to move it forward. So, again, I would say that we're at a point in history that is really a perfect time for people to step out and do what they were meant to do with their lives. Not since the Industrial Revolution have we been at a time when there's more opportunity. And I know everybody knows that the economy is in the tank and is very worried about a lot of stuff, but with the way the Internet has come now and where we are with that and the ability to reach millions of people,
definitely,
time is ripe now. So action.
Definitely. And what was it, because I'm trying to figure out the best title for this interview. You said something that really struck a chord with me, was how to find your passion. You said a string of statements just now, words. How to find your passion. The next one was what?
How to find your passion, how to find your purpose, and then how to welcome prosperity is the formula that I always talk about.
That's the title of the interview. Lifestyle design, how to find your passion, how to find your, what was that again?
How to find your passion, how to find your purpose, and how to welcome prosperity.
Okay, we got it then. Thank you for doing the interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. Let's stay in touch, all right?
Definitely. So
let me know. Yeah, let me know when it...
So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really want to know what exactly you think. I mean, if I suck and if I'm not doing a good job, I want to know, because by your input and your comments, your suggestions, your feedback, that's how I'm going to improve on the entire package of what I'm sharing with you. I really want to improve so that you know that your time is well spent when you watch my videos. And if I do good on interviews and you like certain things I do, please let me know so I can even improve upon that as well. And I want to thank you really, because your time is well spent, and I mean your time is important to me, and I want to make sure that I continuously put this information in front of you. So I want you to join my community, and in order to do that, you need to click on the link that says get the free ebook, enter in your name and email, and you will receive as a gift from me my free ebook titled The Entrepreneur's Guide to Running a Business in the Cloud. The reason I do that is because I want to share with you that information. You can check it out and make use of it in your business. In the same vein, I will be sending you email updates every time I have new blog posts, as well as if I have new stuff that is not even on the blog, I want to share with you. That way we can stay in contact. One more thing. Before you go, I want to also let you know that if you are really serious about finding, hiring, training, and even working with virtual assistant, if right now you want to get that started, why don't you sign up for my free webinar where I share everything about the entire process. And you can get to do that by clicking on the link on the very top of my blog where it says sign up for the free webinar. Again, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you next time.